There will be 4 elimination games played in Major League Baseball tomorrow. One of them will be played at Dodger Stadium with Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, trying to close things out for the Dodgers. We're going to dig into Yamamoto. We're going to look at what's going around the league, look at the potential lineup differences for the Dodgers tomorrow, a bunch more, and hanging out in the chat here on this episode of All Dodgers. Hey, coming at you live from my mom's basement in Pleasant Grove, Utah. This is the All Dodgers podcast, part of the Bleav Network of podcasts, brought to you by FanDuel. I am Jeff Snider. It is me solo tonight. Originally, it was going to be the three amigos, me and Clint and Kevin, and then they just kept dropping off one by one, and the last man standing is me, Jeff Snider. I'm not standing, I'm sitting. I got a comfortable office chair that I'm sitting in here in this basement that I own. My mom does not own it, and yet it is still my mom's basement. No game today for the Dodgers. There were 2 games. The 2 American League division series is played today. The Mariners beat the Tigers to go up 2-1 in their series, and the Yankees beat the Blue Jays to pull within 2-1 in their series. Both of those series also continue tomorrow. There's only 2 days during the division series that all 4 series have a game on the same day. The first day was the first day of the series, back on whatever day that was, Saturday. And tomorrow, Wednesday, is the other one. All 4 games will be potential elimination games. The Blue Jays can clinch tomorrow. The Mariners can clinch tomorrow. Both of them can punch their tickets to the ALCS. The Brewers are up 2-0 on the Cubs, and the Dodgers are up 2-0 on the Phillies. So both the Brewers and Dodgers could punch their tickets to the NLCS tomorrow, or possibly all 4 series could keep going after tomorrow. Hopefully 3 of the 4 keep going, and the other one, the one played at Dodger Stadium, doesn't. And I gotta say, obviously the game's not played on paper. They're gonna have to still play the game. The Dodgers have Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, and I don't want anybody to think of this like I'm overlooking the Phillies in this game, even though I do stand by the fact that it doesn't matter if I overlook them. I'm positive the Dodgers aren't overlooking the Phillies. And so what I say doesn't affect how they play at all. I'm more of describing what happens than determining what happens. But the Dodgers have Yoshinobu Yamamoto on the mound, who had a 2.49 ERA this year. He was dominant most of the season. He pitched against the Phillies once this year, 6 innings, 3 hits, 1 unearned run is all he allowed. He did take the loss because the offense couldn't score for him. But he has just been dominant for most of this season. The Phillies are sending out Aaron Nola. And Aaron Nola used to be the Phillies ace. He has gotten Cy Young votes 4 different seasons. He has been somewhere between a very good and a pretty good pitcher for most of his career. This year, he had a 6.01 ERA, only a 4.58 FIP, so there was some bad luck there, but 4.58 FIP is also still bad. Definitely the kind of guy the Dodgers should pound. His strikeout rate is down from back when he was at his peak. Still not a terrible strikeout rate. 9.3 strikeouts per 9. His actual strikeout percentage is 24%, down from its peak was 33.2%. His best season, it was 27%. So it's down a little bit. His walk rate is about where it's been, maybe even down a little bit. The big difference is he's given up a lot more hits, 9.4 hits per 9, whereas his career average is 8.0. His best season was 6.3. If you just look at his batting average allowed, this year is 267. He was as low as 197 back in 2018, his best season. 267 opposing hitters hit off of Aaron Nola this year. He is definitely, 2025 Aaron Nola is definitely the kind of guy that these Dodgers should hit. Now, will they? We'll find out tomorrow. But you like the Dodgers' chances on offense, and you like their chances on the pitching side. It's really Richie Flores says, hopefully the Dodgers won't go full Blue Jays tomorrow, but Jeff won't read this anyway. As usual, Richie's wrong. This is a mismatch for the Dodgers on paper, but they got to go out and do it. And the Phillies are going to be hungry. Obviously, the Phillies aren't going to go away quietly. They thought they were a motivated win too because it felt like a must-win game. This literally is a must-win game. People throw around the phrase must-win game all the time. Most of the time, it's not true. Tomorrow, Wednesday, it is true for the Phillies. It is a must-win game for the Phillies and the Cubs and the Yankees and the Tigers. Must-win game because if you don't, you go home. So the Phillies are going to come out there motivated, and that means the Dodgers are going to have to execute. Yoshinobu Yamamoto is going to have to make his pitches. He's pretty good at making his pitches. I'm excited about that. I actually just had a thought because I've mentioned one of my theories is that Yamamoto struggles more when the home plate umpire is bad, especially if he's getting squeezed. If the umpire is not giving him his great pitches on the corner, because the fact is Yamamoto is very good at dotting the corners, and so I'm just looking to see who the home plate umpire will be tomorrow. And I wish I had thought to look at that beforehand, but here we go. So yesterday's first base umpire should be tomorrow's home plate umpire, which means Nick Lentz, Lentz. And now we look up Nick Lentz and see where he ranks among Major League umpires as far as being good at being an umpire. He is not in the bottom third. That's good. Let's see how close he is to the top. We'll give him the benefit of the doubt. Nick Lentz looks like he's middle of the pack. Yeah, almost exactly middle of the pack. Average accuracy 94.45% this year. So, hopefully won't be terrible at least. I wish that Major League Baseball would just, give the postseason assignments to the best umpires, but that seems to be a little bit more advanced than Commissioner Fred Rodman is willing to go. So that's my hope. My hope is that the umpire isn't a factor tomorrow because really beyond that, Yamamoto just pitches game and he'll be fine. And the Dodgers offense obviously needs to show up. I'm going to talk about the offense in just a second because we are going to see some lineup changes a little bit. But first, I do want to mention our sponsor, FanDuel, because the odds over on FanDuel are looking pretty nice for the Dodgers right now. Dodgers are currently at minus 1,300 to win the series, which I Bleav hasn't changed since last night after they won that game. The Brewers, also up 2-0, are only at minus 750, which is still overwhelming favorites. But you can see the betting odds strongly favor the Dodgers. The American League, where both series are 2-1, obviously the odds are a little bit closer. The Blue Jays up 2-1 are at minus 235, and the Mariners up 2-1 are at minus 330. But I assume this NLDS odds with the Dodgers at minus 1,300 is taking into account the fact that it's Yoshinobu Yamamoto against Aaron Nola tomorrow. And that is a mismatch in favor of the Dodgers. That's where we're at there. Before I start talking about the lineup changes, I do have a super chat here that I want to talk about. Our buddy Cole, $5 super chat says, let me put it up on the screen. Jeff, any concern with the lack of swing and miss on Roki's fastball? I'll take foul balls, but seem to be putting it in play. Am I seeing it wrong? I don't have a lot of concern about that. Obviously, I would love for them to swing and miss at everything. I don't think the fastball is necessarily going to be Roki's swing and miss pitch. It's more of a pitch to set up the splitter, forkball, whatever you want to call it. And so getting foul balls on that gets you deeper into account where then they do have to start, they have to be ready for the 100-mile-an-hour fastball and then try to hit the splitter. And so I don't think pitchers necessarily need to get swing and miss with all of their pitches. We did see yesterday, Blake Snell got swing and miss with all of his pitches. He was, had league average swing and miss rate on his fastball yesterday. The fastball is the easy one to hit. and Blake Snell had the league average swing and miss rate on that. And the other 3 pitches, the curveball, the slider, and the changeup, were all way, way above league average. League average is 25.3% whiff rate, swing and miss rate. Blake Snell yesterday was 55%. Just ridiculous. And so, but you don't necessarily need that, because like I said, even Snell's fastball was league average swing and miss rate, which is good for a fastball. Roki's won't be that high, but you don't necessarily need to get swing and miss on every pitch, is what I'm saying. As long as he gets weak contact when they do put the fastball in play, and when they foul it off or they do swing and miss, then it gets deeper in the count, and you can then go to town on them where you have to keep them guessing. So that's a very good question though, Cole. I appreciate that question. So the Dodgers said today that Max Muncy will be in the starting lineup tomorrow, which makes sense. Muncy wasn't in the starting lineup the first 2 games of this series. The Phillies had tough lefties on the mound for both of those. And the fact is, Max Muncy this year, while he has had some notable big moments against left-handed pitching, overall, he's been bad against lefties. And so it made sense to sit him. One of the things that I have really, really loved seeing about Muncy and everybody else is just how excited everybody is to just be doing their part. And, specifically the reason I bring that up is because we're talking about Max Muncy. Muncy wasn't in the starting lineup 2 days in a row. And yet he got in the lineup, when the time came, once the lefty starters were out of the game. And yesterday we saw him make a huge defensive play after coming in, after not being a starter. He could have been pouting. He could have been, grumpy about it. Instead, he just was in there ready to win the game. His offense helped. He took a big walk. He's a guy who he wants nothing more than to win another World Series. He's already won 2 with the Dodgers. He wants to win a 3rd. And you can tell Max Muncy does not care what his role is, as long as he is part of a World Series champion. And I love that about him. But he will be in the starting lineup tomorrow because Aaron Nola is on the mound. I did see somebody in our Discord today, which, by the way, if you want to join the Discord, go to patreon.com/realfrg, scan the QR code. Is that the right QR code? I don't remember. I thought I had replaced it, but anyway, but go to patreon.com/realfrg, $5 a month, get you access to the Discord. But somebody on the Discord today was asking if we think that the Phillies might be pulling a Craig Counsell. You remember in 2018 in the NLCS game 4, I think, the Craig Counsell started Wade Miley on the mound and took him out after 1 batter. And it was just, they didn't say he's just going to be an opener. It was literally just, let's get right-handers in the lineup for the Dodgers and then take our lefty out and get a righty in there, which, it's a very Craig Counsell move. And I don't mean that as an insult or a compliment. It's just the way it is. But somebody wondered if the Phillies might be doing that same thing too, because they do have Ranger Suarez available. Are they going to go with Aaron Nola just to get guys like Max Muncy in the lineup and then, pull Nola after 1 inning and bring in Ranger Suarez, and then you've got the platoon advantages? It might be. They can't go as extreme as Counsell did in 2018 because the fact is there's now a 3-batter minimum. And so Aaron Nola has to pitch at least to the first 3 batters. And, that won't be Max Muncy probably. It'll be with a righty on the mound. It'll be Shohei and then Mookie and then Freddie. And that's good. He's got to pitch to them. And then if they do bring in Ranger Suarez, like Matty Man Dodge says in the chat, we'll hit Suarez too. The Dodgers have won against 2 lefties who are better than Ranger Suarez. And so they can win against Ranger Suarez too. And, my perfect situation would be they do try those shenanigans, and Max Muncy gets a big hit off of Ranger Suarez and said, hey, look, glad I'm in the lineup. Thanks, guys. I'm just looking right now to see what Muncy has done against Nola in his career. Hasn't been great, honestly. In fact, pretty bad. He's 4 for 24 with 11 strikeouts against Aaron Nola. Does Nola have reverse splits? Because I've read that Ohtani hasn't been great against him either. And so I don't know. Let's see. No, he doesn't have reverse splits. He's definitely worse against lefties. So, but the other thing to remember is that all of those at bats where Muncy has struggled against Nola came back when Nola was good. And Nola is not that pitcher anymore. And so, yeah, same with Ohtani. These guys, last time they faced Aaron Nola, he was a good pitcher. And yeah, like Ray says it in the chat. Wasn't that with elite Nola? Yeah. Now it's not elite Aaron Nola. It is Phillies are desperate for a win, Aaron Nola. So Max Muncy will be in the starting lineup. There's a good chance Will Smith will be in the starting lineup. We saw again in game 2. He played the second half of the game. Basically, they got Ben Rortvedt one at bat, or as Stephen Nelson pointed out, some people call him Ron Roveltelt. They got Rortvedt one at bat. Second at bat, Will Smith came in, ended up having, maybe this biggest swing of the game for the Dodgers. Huge at bat there. And seems like after doing that 2 games in a row, they're probably going to be ready for him to get a start behind the plate. And beyond that, we'll see what the lineup is. I don't know that they'll make a ton of changes. We'll probably still see Kike Hernandez, Andy Pages, and Teoscar Hernandez in the outfield, which means Max Muncy at third. And then, the only question is Tommy Edman at second, probably. Edman has hit well left-handed lately. So, yeah, it's probably Tommy Edman at second base, but you could see them going with Miguel Rojas, although Rojas tweaked his hammy. So, the more I think about it, it's probably Tommy Edman at second base and just rolling with that lineup. So the big difference is Muncy and Smith in the starting lineup, which is, however you slice it, it's an upgrade on the lineup. So you factor in the Phillies have a worse pitcher going. The Dodgers have a better lineup going. Yeah. The only thing that makes me nervous is that everything seems to be coming up Millhouse here. Like, it's one of those things where you worry it's a trap game. And not that the Dodgers are going to overlook this, but sometimes the baseball powers that be just like to laugh at us or whatever and say, hey, here's a game where you have everything going for you. This is the game you're going to lose. And we've seen it the opposite way a lot. As Dodger fans, I've talked about, I remember a game back in, 2021, somewhere around there, when people were just melting down about the lineup that the Dodgers were running out there. It was a home game against the Mets that I was at. And it was just worst lineup ever. And the Dodgers won like 8-2. And it's just, that happens sometimes. And so anything can happen in one game. But I am excited to see Yamamoto pitch in this situation. We've seen Yamamoto come up huge in the postseason. We've seen him pitch great this year, this October. We've seen him pitch great all season long. We saw him last year in the division series clinching game. Yamamoto was lights out for the Dodgers against the Padres. He has a chance to clinch another division series tomorrow. Excited for the lineup stuff. And beyond that, guys, I'm just going to dig through the chat. What do you guys want to talk about? Like, there's so much going on. OTC says Tommy Tank should be benched. Let Kim play one game. Yeah, unless Tommy Edman's ankle is bothering him, I just don't think they're viewing Hae-Sung Kim as a starter right now. I just don't think he's shown enough with the bat over the last few months after his hot 3-week start in the big leagues. I just don't see that happening unless it's a health issue. I don't know, says, does an ankle injury make you swing like crap? Yeah, Edman hasn't had a great series. But Edman is a guy who we've seen do it in the past in the postseason. And, I suspect if he's healthy, the Dodgers are going to be playing him and trusting that. Cole says scoring for Yamamoto is also a concern, which is kind of true, although his last game of the regular season against the D-backs, the Dodgers won 8-0. His game against the Reds, the Dodgers scored a bunch for him. So hopefully that 2-game sample size is enough that that, yeah, the Dodgers have decided it's fun scoring for Yoshinobu Yamamoto, and instead they've moved on to Blake Snell, who they had trouble scoring for yesterday. Yeah, offense, let's get some runs for him. Devin says, would have loved for Paul Skeens to be in the American League so Yamamoto could be the first Japanese player to win the Cy Young Award. Yeah, it's coming. Yamamoto's going to win one. It probably the year that Paul Skeens has his inevitable Tommy John surgery. That's when Yamamoto will win his first Cy Young Award, or when the Pirates trade Skeens to the Yankees or whatever. Iris K says the Dodgers are focused right now. I'm not worried about their mindset. And yeah, the Dodgers themselves, like I said, we can talk all we want about, oh yeah, this is an easy game, whatever. That doesn't affect anything because the Dodgers are taking this seriously. There's no doubt about it in my mind. Let's see, scrolling more through the chat. All right. Matty Man 5 Dodge says, Jeff, talk about the Treinen usage going forward. We can't go away from him altogether, it seems. Yeah, I am not interested in this being a negative show at all because the Dodgers are up 2-0 against a very good team, and that makes me happy. Blake Treinen was bad last night. I think that is on Blake Treinen, and I think it was perfectly reasonable looking at 3 righties in a row and then 3 lefties in a row to think some combination of Blake Treinen and Alex Vesia should be able to preserve this 3-run lead. And, ultimately they did end up needing to go to Roki Sasaki. I thought Dave Roberts' explanation after the game sounded like a smart manager explaining his well thought out thought process that made sense. I hardly ever refer to managerial decisions as right or wrong. I think that one was well thought out, and I understand his thinking, and I don't have any issues with it, especially because the Dodgers did hold on and win, not exactly the way they drew it up, but they got the win. But yeah, like Matty Man asks, Blake Treinen, we learned something new about him last night. The fact is, Treinen had been really good for 3 straight appearances before that. They made mechanical tweaks, and he was really good. And so, and even last night, he was bad in a different way than the bad Blake Treinen we saw during the regular season. He was bad in a different way last night. And some of it wasn't like the pitch to Real Muto that he doubled on was a bad pitch. He hung a sweeper right at the top of the zone. Bad pitch. But the leadoff single was just a seeing eye bleeder single, got through the infield. And then the double by Castellanos, like, it wasn't a bad pitch. It was like, it was what he wanted to do. Hey, I made Castellanos look terrible on a sweeper. I'm going to throw one way out of the zone and see if I can get him to swing. And he did. And somehow he put the bat on it and poked it into left field. It was stupid. But a lot of that underscores my ongoing concern with Blake Treinen over the last couple of years, which is that it's funny. I just got our first thumbs down of this episode while I was having the nerve to say that Blake Treinen isn't Hitler or whatever. But my ongoing concern with Treinen in the last couple of years has been not as much swing and miss as I would like. Because the fact is, poor contact drops in sometimes. And we saw that last night. 2 of the 3 hits were poor contact, but they were poor contact to the right part of the field. Strikeouts never turn into hits. They sometimes turn into base runners if it's, a wild pitch. But strikeouts never turn into hits. Weak contact turns into hits, 20% of the time, which is more than I would like. And so until Treinen gets back to being a strikeout guy, yeah, I have concerns with him in certain situations because those things can fall in. And I do think that I suspect that we won't see Treinen in a save situation for a little while. I would guess that Dave Roberts is hoping for a low leverage situation to get him in. How many pitches did he throw yesterday? Treinen threw pitches. Where is he at? Only 12 pitches. That's why I assumed it was, because he was just giving up hits. It's not like he was walking guys. And so my guess would be Dave Roberts is hoping for a low leverage situation tomorrow, hoping the Dodgers can jump on Aaron Nola and get Blake Treinen in the 7th inning of a 7-1 game tomorrow. to get him back on the horse and see what they could do. But yeah, right now, I think he has to have dropped at least a little bit on the leverage chart. And, the fact is, if Tanner Scott was pitching better, he would be up there. We haven't even seen a sniff of Tanner Scott in the postseason. And, Blake Treinen isn't going to get that same treatment quite yet because Treinen, was decent for a few appearances and, had some bad luck last night for sure. But it also, he's not the same Blake Treinen that he's been in the past. And so we're going to see a change in his usage, I think. Noah says, were you surprised they didn't bring out Yohan Duran after Jesus Luzardo? Yeah, it's kind of interesting. I saw some people talking about that. Some Philly fans today talking about how they need to stop using Duran as a closer and use him as a high leverage reliever, especially when he ended up pitching in both of these games when they were down, just to try to keep them close. But in the ninth inning, if you've been listening to me for any time, I've been podcasting about the Dodgers for 10 years. And for about 10 of those years, I've been saying, I don't like set closers. I think that your best relievers should pitch in your most important moments. And honestly, that's kind of why I didn't mind the trying to move last night, because they were up by 3 runs. Yes, it's a safe situation, but it's not the highest of high leverage. It was a part of the lineup that Treinen should have been able to handle. That's why I put it on Treinen. Like, you got the part of the lineup you should have been able to handle, and you didn't handle it. So, with the days off, I totally understand the argument for why people would have preferred to see Roki there. I understand Dave Roberts' reasoning for not using Roki. But all that to say, I don't like closers because the ninth inning is not always your most important inning. Fact of the matter, I know people say, oh, ninth inning is different. Those 3 outs are the hardest to get in baseball. People who say that are closers who are trying to hype themselves up. Yeah, there's a difference, but not always. If you're up 4-1, like the Dodgers were, Blake Treinen didn't choke that game away because the pressure of the save situation. He had a bad night. It's not because of the ninth inning. The eighth inning was tougher. Emmett Sheehan got through the eighth inning, did give up 1 run, but he got through the meat of that lineup. I promise you, the eighth inning was harder. The inning in which Trey Turner, Kyle Schwarber, and Bryce Harper batted, that was a harder inning. And Emmett Sheehan did a better job, which means we know more about Emmett Sheehan than we did too. So all this stuff, to answer Noah's question, yeah, the Phillies should have, when they took Luzardo out of that game, it was still a 0-0 game. It was second and third, nobody out, but you had Kike Hernandez coming up, right? And they went to Orion Kerkering, who has been good, but he's no Yohan Duran. And if I'm the Phillies and the Dodgers are going to beat me, I want them to beat my best. And you bring in Duran there, figure out the rest later, especially because there were no outs. And so it's not even like you're wasting Duran on just a one batter appearance. No, he's going to need to get 3 outs, but your chances of getting through that inning without allowing any runs are a lot better if you go with your highest strikeout guy. And Duran doesn't strike out as many guys as you would expect from a guy who throws 102 with a 98-mile-an-hour splitter. It's ridiculous. He ought to be striking out 90% of the batters he faces, but he's still your best chance there to get through that inning with no runs or maybe 1 run allowed. And the Phillies didn't go to it, and instead we got Orion Kerkering, and the Dodgers made him pay for it. And so, yeah, I like that question, Noah. And, yeah, I wouldn't say I'm surprised that they didn't go to Duran. I'm glad they didn't, though, because I think that is that helped the Dodgers for sure. Dusty Willis 79. Excuse me. Says, saw a video of batting practice today. Kirby Yates is throwing right where he belongs. I heard Ben Casparis also threw live batting practice today. Neither of them are on the roster right now. Both of them are eligible to join the roster in the next series. That'll be an interesting thing to see. If Treinen and Scott don't earn their spot on the leverage tree, do you go with a Benny Caps or a Will Klein, who will be eligible in the next series? or even a Kyle Hurt. That I would guess Kyle Hurt is a long shot, but Kasperius and Klein, I think, are both legitimate options to take a spot on the roster. And obviously, some of it'll be about who they're playing. It'll probably be the Brewers, and then they can look at the roster, look at what lefty-righty composition they want, all of that. We'll dig into that more. I'm not going to quite count that many chickens right now before they've hatched. But Manta Racer says, what was that throw from Tommy Edman? Yeah. Thank goodness for Freddie Freeman. And every infielder makes a bad throw. It was weird. It looked like Tommy was throwing darts. I don't know exactly what happened there. He's got a solid arm. He doesn't make bad throws like that very often. Luckily, that one didn't come back to bite them because Freddie Freeman saved him. Devin says the Phillies cost themselves both games by not using Duran in both big seventh inning spots. Yeah, especially since they used him later in the game when the game was already lost, basically. Hey, keep us closer. How about keep us from losing the lead? Yeah. I know Rob Thompson is old school manager. I don't know if he's that old book, not old, 10 years or so ago. The guys, Sam Miller and Ben Lindbergh wrote the book. The only rule is it has to work, about when they managed a independent league minor league team for a year. And, the saying for that, the closer's the closer because he's the closer. And maybe Rob Thompson thinks Yohan Duran can only pitch in the ninth inning. I don't know. It's weird, but, Jason says if the Dodgers are leading, Dave will probably bring Tanner Scott in to keep the blood pressure high. Yeah, I think they're probably looking for a low leverage situation to get Tanner Scott in a game at this point too. But we'll see. Hopefully the Dodgers offense can give them plenty of give them like 3 good low leverage innings, get a bunch of runs, let Yamamoto pitch his 6 dominant innings, and then Tanner Scott, Blake Treinen, and whoever, Anthony Bonda, I guess he hasn't pitched in a while. Let them close it out. I would love a stress-free game tomorrow where, these games as a baseball fan, they're fun, the close ones, but I'm ready for a stress-free game. I remember last year, Game 5 of the NLDS, when the Dodgers won 2-0, it was stressful. And after the fact, it was great, but it wasn't, not what I'm looking for tomorrow. Give me an easy win. Don't Care 187 says, what's up, Jeff? I'll be at the game tomorrow. Hope it's another Yamamoto closeout. I hope so too, for sure. Bob Student 10, Tommy almost tanked game 2 with that shot put throw. I don't know, says it felt like we were going to get walked off last night, which would have been disastrous. Yeah, it was definitely a more important game for the Phillies than the Dodgers last night. It was more disastrous for them that they weren't able to pull it off than it would have been for the Dodgers to lose it. But yeah, coming home up 2-0, Dodgers put themselves in a very good position to try to close this thing out at home and stay home until it's time to fly to Milwaukee to start the NLCS. Hopefully they can do that. Devin is calling a no-hitter for Yamamoto. I like that. Iris says Phillies fans should be mad at Thompson's use of the bullpen. Matty Man says, agree. Blake Treinen have been good recently, and Dave can't use Roki every night. Yeah, and in case you didn't see what Dave Roberts said about it, the thing that really hit home to me is Dave pointed out Roki has been a relief pitcher for like 3 weeks and hasn't had a ton of experience pitching twice in 3 games. And the fact is, they're probably going to need him tomorrow. And so then it would be 3 times in 5 games. And when you're looking at the big picture of our goal is to win 13 games this postseason, and Dave Roberts made the calculation, we should be able to win this one without using Roki, which puts us in better position to win the games with Roki down the road. Now, Blake Treinen, unfortunately, made it so that they ended up having to use Roki anyway. Thankfully, only for 2 pitches, which probably helps. But yeah, I get the reasoning. Bruce doesn't agree. Blake Treinen should not pitch anymore. That was a stupid move. Sorry, Jeff. You don't have to apologize to me. I didn't make the move. I admit my default is that the manager with the best winning percentage in Major League Baseball history is probably pretty good at his job. And I think so many people are so quick to just every single move. Whoa, Dave Roberts is an idiot. And I just don't think the evidence bears that out. There have been a lot of moves that I think were absolutely right. A lot of other moves I think were perfectly defensible. And every once in a while he makes me like, yeah, I think that was probably the wrong move. But the fact is, there's a reason Dave Roberts has that job and I don't. And, I'm not even super confident every time I think he made the wrong move because the fact is I don't know his personnel. I don't know everything that's going on. So anyway, History Man 0828 says a dream scenario will be the Dodgers sweep and the Brewers lose game 3 and win game 4. Then the Dodgers will be more well rested and ready to go. Brewers might as well lose games 3 and 4, right? So they have to play game 5. Whoever wins the other NLDS, the Dodgers' dream scenario is for it to go all 5 games. I think that's all that really matters. Another super chat, another one from Cole. Another $5 says, speaking of Duran, will the Dodgers have Godzilla escort Roki into the game to finish it off? I don't know. But thanks for the super chat. Devin says, seriously, I want Yamamoto 9 innings, 115 pitch no-hitter. Don't give the pen the chance to sniff the mound. And what I want is the offense to make it so it doesn't matter who pitches. That's what I want. I don't need Yamamoto to pitch a no-hitter, pitch a complete game. I want the offense to do their part, which they've done this postseason. But I want them to do it in a big way so that it doesn't matter who pitches. That's my goal. I don't know, says even the gift runs they got from Treinen gave them a little momentum. Yeah, I know people don't always agree with me when I say momentum doesn't exist in baseball from game to game. There's no such thing. If there was, then, you look at everything. Like teams would have long winning streaks all the time because once you win, well, now you got momentum. All right. Winning again tomorrow, even more momentum. I mean, that's how momentum works. It's not a thing from game to game in baseball. And so, every once in a while there could be a hitter who wakes up. But, for the most part, no, momentum doesn't exist in baseball. Mark says Doc's thought process included ignoring all the stats and the 2025 season Blake has had, sentiment over results. And I just disagree with that, Mark. I think Dave Roberts was looking at the much smaller, admittedly, sample size of the last few games after they made mechanical tweaks and thought, hey, look, Blake Treinen made tweaks and now he's been much better. And so I think it's perfectly reasonable to think when a guy makes tweaks and then pitches a lot better, that the tweaks helped him pitch better and that therefore he might continue pitching better. And again, the Dodgers won the game, which means Dave Roberts, overall his bet worked out. Not the way he had planned, and there was a little bit of luck involved. But, when you're saying, hey, we've got a big enough lead that we should be able to win this game, and then you win the game, at least go a little credit there. Matty Man says Castellanos hit an impossible pitch. Yeah, I don't even know how Castellanos hit that pitch. It was ridiculous. Let's see. Lucy Chen says, I feel like we need to win tomorrow. I don't feel confident with Glasnow in game 4, and we definitely don't want to go back to Philly. I definitely want to win tomorrow. I feel great about Glasnow. I think I don't totally understand the Glasnow issues that people have. I think he was great this year and, had a couple bad games, but otherwise when he was healthy, he was very good this year. Has really good stuff. And so if it gets to a game 4, I expect the Dodgers to win that one, and we'll go from there. But yeah, I'd like to win it in 3, sweep, and then Glasnow's even more rested for whenever he pitches in the NLCS. By the way, Lucy Chen, is that your real name? Because isn't that the name of a character on the Rookie? I think it is. But I can't tell if the profile picture on here. Okay, it's not a picture of the character from the Rookie, so it's not a fan account or anything. But anyway, I'm way behind on this chat now. You guys just keep on rolling with it. I appreciate that. Miguel Casillas says, how did Justin Dean make the playoff roster? I'm genuinely curious. Not saying he's bad, just a question. Justin Dean made the playoff roster because he runs fast and plays good defense. He hasn't had a chance to pinch run yet. Maybe he will, maybe he won't. He has come in for late inning defense a few times. And Justin Dean is an excellent center fielder and a very fast runner. And that's why he's on the roster, because they valued that. They didn't have 13 pitchers they wanted to carry. And so they said, well, let's put a couple guys on just because they're fast. And that's why Dean and, to a lesser extent, Kim are on the roster. And but he is bad. I appreciate Miguel saying, I'm not saying he's bad, but yeah, Justin Dean can't hit. And so he's not going to get an at-bat unless it's a big lead. If Tanner Scott gets in a game to pitch, maybe Justin Dean gets an at-bat. We'll put it that way. Let's see. People disagreeing with me about Treinen, which is fine. I'm not going to belabor that point anymore. I think one of the great things is that we can disagree about things. Ken Wolcott says, Rob Thompson probably wishes he had Justin Dean pinch running for Castellanos last night. Maybe that's why he's on the Dodgers roster. Yeah, we saw last night Nick Castellanos having to run the bases kind of underscored the value that you can have late in the game with the pinch runner, because Justin Dean wouldn't have gotten thrown out on that sacrifice bunt in the ninth inning. Without that play that Max Muncy and Mookie Betts pulled off, the Phillies tie that game up in the ninth inning at least. And and who knows what happens if it gets to extra innings. So speed definitely helps sometimes. I don't know, says should have brought Vesia in with Roki for backup. I mean, they had three righties coming up. It was either going to be Treinen or Roki. Vesia was there for those three lefties, and that's anyway. That's the last time I'm going to talk about the Treinen decision. I think I was glad last night that I wasn't going to be on the show, so I didn't have to talk about it very much. And then here we ended up talking about it a lot. Iris says, guys, before the series started, my hubby picked the Phillies to move on. The level of betrayal. I assume you misspelled ex-hubby, Iris. You don't have to deal with that kind of stuff. And anyway, I'm trying to, you guys know, I'm not good at multitasking, talking while scrolling through the chat and trying to, I'm going to get down to more recent stuff. And so if I didn't get to yours, I'm sorry. Noah asks, what are your thoughts on Teoscar's hustling? He didn't hustle to first. He hustled and scored, and then he hustled to second base, got tagged after manager review. The one where Teo didn't hustle down to first base, it's tough to know if he would have had a chance to be safe or not, but you got to hustle there. It's October. I don't have a problem with guys if there's a 100% chance you're going to be out. Like, I don't need eyewash hustle, but until there's a 100% chance you're going to be out, you hustle. And when I say 100%, somebody's going to say there's no such thing as 100%. And, but I mean, there are a lot of plays where, okay, it's a ground ball to shortstop. The shortstop fielded it cleanly. If I run 90%, I'm either going to be out, most likely, or I'm going to be safe because he made a bad throw. There's not really an instance there where I'm not going to beat it out by hustling. And there's not an instance where he makes a throw that's bad enough that I'm safe because I hustled, but not bad enough that I wasn't safe if I didn't hustle. Anyway, whatever I'm trying to say. Yeah, I don't need that. But in Teo's situation, he stopped hustling before we got to that 99.9% going to be out scenario. And so, it was frustrating. Again, I joked in the Discord before the game started. I said, is today going to be the day that Teo giveth and Teo doesn't take it away? And it wasn't. He did take it away a little bit there. And then, Noah mentions the play at home on Kike's little swinging bunt. Teo had a very good slide into the plate, keeping his foot down onto the plate. But he got a really bad jump off third base. I don't really understand why. And, I would have rather had him do a head first hook slide, because the fact is Turner's throw to Realmuto was on the first base side of the catcher. So Realmuto had to catch it and then swing back around to tag him. If Trey throws that ball straight to Realmuto or a little bit on the third base side, Teo's out by a couple feet because of the bad jump. And so I need, I don't know. Teo runs fast. He's almost as fast as Shohei Ohtani, speed-wise. Not a great base runner, and I need more from him there. But again, as long as his bat keeps doing its thing, we'll deal with it. Cole says, hot take, if we move on, Justin Dean and Dalton Rushing are left off the NLCS roster, and Justin Robleski and Will Klein are added. It's definitely a possibility. If Will Smith starts tomorrow and everything goes great, at that point, I don't know that there's that much point in carrying 3 catchers anymore. So although you still might want to carry 3 catchers because of the rule that if you have to leave a roster for injury, you're ineligible to play in the next series. And once we get to the NLCS, the series after that is the World Series. And so if Smith were to aggravate it, they wouldn't be able to replace him on the roster, because then he wouldn't be able to play in the World Series. And so if it was like a minor aggravation, they might still want 3 catchers, even if Will Smith seems totally healthy. So, Justin Dean, I think you probably don't need Dean and Kim as pinch runners. Dean provides defensive value that Kim doesn't, because Dean can play in elite center field and Kim can't. The Dodgers have more infielders available defensively. So I wouldn't be surprised if it was Kim instead of Dean left off. And I don't know who else. Let's see. I don't know. It says it's crazy that the Phillies still bunted when they tried that play with the foul bunt before. It wasn't even a surprise. It was... I think Mookie did a good job disguising the wheel play. And so when Stott had squared around the pitch before, took it high. So it wasn't a foul ball. He took a ball. And they didn't know the wheel play was on. And that was really what did it for him, because Stott laid down a perfect bunt, exactly what he was trying to do. You tell yourself, make the third baseman field it, because then there's no play at third base unless they run the wheel play, which they did, and they never do. I think that's the Dodgers doing a great job. I did see on MLB Network an interesting thought that Castellanos should have picked up on the fact that Mookie was running the wheel play and had him beat, and just that Castellanos should have just stayed at second base. And they seem to think that the Phillies would have had first and second and no outs if he had done that. I suspect, like Muncy, if Castellanos had stopped and gone back to second base, I think Muncy still gets the out at first base, so it's still runner on second, one out. Running into that out at third base was interesting, and but I think it's mostly just the Dodgers made a great play. That's you sometimes one team wins, and the Dodgers just made a great play there. And I loved Bob Student 10 says, can we give Mookie the shortstop his flowers? He called the wheel play. Yeah, I loved that Max Muncy was not interested in taking credit for that. He said, yeah, Mookie called that. And then Mookie wasn't interested in taking credit for it. He said, yeah, we did that with Miggy earlier this season. Miggy called it like that. Miggy deserves the credit. Like, one of the things about this team is that everybody, the egos, you would think for this payroll, the payroll that's ruining baseball, that there would be more egos. And I think the Dodgers do a good job of picking players who can fit into this system. And I really do believe that Dave Roberts deserves credit for managing what could be a lot of egos and getting them all on board with, let's just go win us a World Series. And I think that, there are a lot of examples of teams who haven't been able to do that. And I think a lot of that, I've said managers get too much blame and too much credit for stuff that happens on the field. I don't think you can say enough about what Dave Roberts does in the clubhouse. I think he is the best people manager in baseball, and it's not close. It might be close. There's other guys. He's not the only good one, but I think we've seen in action a team 100 miles south that keeps going through manager after manager and keeps realizing, crap, we've still got these same egos, and maybe something no manager can fix. Maybe that was a personnel problem, but all in all, Dave Roberts has done a great job, and I love that the players have bought into it. Puppy Butt 310 says, what has been the newest addition to your bobblehead collection? There are 2 new-ish ones. This one I pointed at the other day, right there. That's Tyler Glasnow from last year. No, that's Tyler Glasnow. Yes, Tyler Glasnow from last year. I also have Tyler Glasnow's from this year that I haven't actually brought in from my car yet. I just got it on Friday at my son's baseball game because one of his teammates went to that game and they brought me back a bobblehead. And then I have the Tommy Edman from this year. I don't remember where on the shelf that one is. Oh, there it is. It's if you can see the Walker Buehler's Day Off one where he's sitting in a red car right there. Tommy Edman's right above it. Those are my 2 newest ones that have gone up on the shelf. I had season tickets for 10 years, and unfortunately, the last 3 years that I haven't had season tickets, I haven't gotten nearly as many of the bobbleheads. But our buddy Kevin Uhas, who's here in the chat a lot of the times, he sent me the Glasnow one from last year. Appreciate that. I'm hoping to gather up all of them. I have every bobblehead the Dodgers gave away in the 10 years that I was a season ticket holder, but I don't have very many of the ones since then. So anyway, appreciate the question. Definitely appreciate the YouTube handle, PuppyButt310. Let's see. Dusty Willis 79 says, I'm legit jealous of Jeff's bobblehead collection. I've got a pretty good Dodger shrine, but it's mostly cards and balls. Yeah, I enjoy bobbleheads. It's not the most amazing collection, but I like my office. It feels like a place I like hanging out, and a lot of that is because it's got bobbleheads and stuff. Noah says, what players surprised you the most? If we're just talking about the postseason, I don't know. There haven't been that many surprises, I guess. Everybody is just like, the fact that the starting pitching has been able to continue dominating maybe isn't surprising, but a relief, I guess. And so, but yeah, not a ton of surprises. This Dodgers team is built for October, and that's what we're seeing. OTC says, I'm not impressed with Dean in center field. I get it. He doesn't always look the smoothest, but he's got he's a great center fielder. People talk about the one that he didn't catch coming in on Gavin Lux's little blooper off Treinen the other night. I said the other night, no other center fielder on the Dodger roster would have gotten to that ball. Justin Dean almost caught it. And so somebody argued with me that night, said Tommy Edman would have got to it. I disagree. I think Justin Dean is the best defensive center fielder on the Dodgers roster. I wish he could hit. There's a reason that he was 28 years old or whatever by the time he made his major league debut, because the guy can't hit, but he can play defense. He can run fast. Ray Barrios says Shohei delivered with that RBI single yesterday. That's not supposed to be news, but it is. Yeah, Shohei had been struggling this series. In fact, Shohei hits lefties well, but tough lefties are still a challenge for him. I loved that he got that hit off Matt Strahm yesterday. It was kind of interesting to me, like that before the pitch, I saw them setting up inside. I'm like, why are you a lefty coming inside on Shohei? Like, it's so easy to miss your spot there. Just try to get him to chase sliders, because there's a decent chance he will. But that's the thing about Ohtani. You make a mistake, he punishes it. And pitchers make mistakes. And Shohei is better than most at punishing them. History Man 0828, and maybe I'll pop up this other headline around the league. Says, I'm surprised the Blue Jays are going with the bullpen game in Game 4. They had a first-round bye before the series started, so I'm not sure why they're doing that. I think the Blue Jays are in a situation similar to the Dodgers last year. They just don't have the starting pitching. And so, Dodgers went with a bullpen game in Game 4, up or down 2-1 last year. And it worked out for them. They won that game 8-0, and then they won the next game 2-0. And so it can work. But, yeah, I think some teams are just... I think we're spoiled with the Dodgers this year having 4 very good starting pitchers who can go out there for them. And I think the Blue Jays would love to be in that boat. Scrolling. It looks like we got another super chat from Jason Anatai. 79,000 Indonesian rupiah. Agree with Jeff. The more stars a team has, the more you need a manager with good people skills. Just look at the Mets. Sorry, I thought I had put up on the screen. There it is. Yeah, look at the Mets. Look at the Padres. Look at team after team after team. Like, money doesn't... they say you can't buy championships, and it's true. And the problem is the Dodgers are also very good at player development and managing egos and a lot of other things, which is why the Dodgers are in contention every single year. And yeah, a lot of that has to do with the egos. Ray says if the game was tied, that sacrifice move by Thompson would have made sense. That was another kind of interesting factor of that the Phillies were playing for a tie there. They weren't trying to win the game. They were trying to tie the game. And Rob Thompson said after the game, that was because he liked the Phillies bullpen more than the Dodgers bullpen. So he liked their chances in extra innings. Sacrifice bunts are not a thing I'm a fan of in most instances. When I am a fan of them is when one run will literally win the game for you, which means tie game, bottom of the ninth or bottom of extra innings. That's when I am 100% in favor of a sacrifice bunt if you have somebody up who can lay down a bunt. Because statistically, #math baby, a successful sacrifice bunt increases your chances of scoring one run and reduces your chances of a big inning. That's what the history of baseball has told us. Throw in the fact that, sacrifice bunting is not 100% successful thing. Sometimes we saw, what game was it? The other night, somebody tried to bunt and they couldn't get the bunt down. I can't remember now. I watch too much baseball apparently. But yeah, guys pop up bunts sometimes. And we're on the anniversary right now, the 12-year anniversary of Dodgers bottom of the 8th inning, down by 1 run. And Don Mattingly calls for Juan Uribe to sack bunt Yasiel Puig over to third base. Uribe tries to twice, can't get the bunt down, so he swings away, hits a 2-run homer instead. I think that being able to bunt is a good skill for people to have, but sacrifice bunts most of the time are a bad decision, and partly because they don't always work. And sometimes you don't move the runner over. OTC says Dean already made errors in center field. Not impressed with him. Justin Dean has made 0 errors in center field or anywhere else in the major leagues. He hasn't made any errors. So I disagree with that based on the fact that it's wrong. No offense. Bless your heart. I think that's what I have to say. It's Dusty Willis says the one catch Dean made yesterday, he looked absolutely terrified and it was routine. It was a one hopper and he just made sure to knock the ball down. It was a interesting approach to playing center field, but the fact is, with Trey Turner running, you make absolutely sure that ball doesn't get past you, and that's what Justin Dean did. Doesn't have to look pretty. Justin Dean's a very good center fielder. Don't know what else to tell you about that. Let's see. Apparently, it looks like a lot of talk about Justin Dean in the chat. I don't. Iris says people claim the Phillies clubhouse chemistry is great, but then why were Castellanos and Thompson talking about each other in the press? I haven't followed much with the Phillies. I've read Rob Thompson's quote about why they were bunting. Haven't read it. I haven't seen them talking about each other. Yeah, Nick Castellanos is an interesting dude. That's for sure. NS says Jeff doesn't have a cat, does he? Those bobbleheads would be on the ground. I have 4 cats. I have a wife who is a cat lover. So I have 4 cats. I'm allergic to cats. I take 2 Zyrtex a day. I have every day for the last 8 years so that my wife can have cats. And I've learned to love them too. But I do have a door on my office that is never open. In fact, there are 2 doors that are never open between my cats and the bobbleheads. So yeah, the cats are not allowed in this room, that's for sure. And it's not just the bobbleheads. If you could see over here, I've got like stacks of baseball cards just sitting here on my table over here. And yeah, the cats would knock those all over the place too. So yeah, this is definitely a cat-free room, although the house itself is anything but cat-free. Dong Kim says Jeff is right about Roberts. Managing the Dodgers is different from managing a team like the Brewers or Phillies because Dave has extra duties with international media, meet and greets with celebrities, etc. Yeah, there's a lot that goes into managing in Los Angeles for sure. Let's see. Barnacle Boy 127 says every team's fan base hates their manager except for like 2 any given year, which is why I don't really care to bash them. Yeah, I have a theory that every fan, and by every fan I don't mean every fan, I mean, generalized, the stereotypical fan believes that his team has the worst manager and the worst bullpen and the worst third base coach and the worst performance with runners in scoring position. Lean says, Jeff, your commentary today is so bad. Thank you. I appreciate that. Your chats aren't that great either. Dovey says, I don't think this is on Yoshi. It's on the lineup, whether we sweep or not. Yoshi isn't going to completely fall apart, in my opinion. No reason the Dodgers can't get 4+ runs against Nola. That's where I'm at. Yeah, this game, Yamamoto's going to keep him in the game. The offense needs to do their job, and I think they will. And I'm excited about that. This is about, I'm getting behind on this chat. So I'm going to stop trying to keep up with it, but this has been a lot of fun. I think, like I said, the headliner down the bottom says around the league. I think tomorrow, the Blue Jays finish off the Yankees. I'm almost positive the Brewers finish off the Cubs. And, we'll see what happens in the other 2 series. I think the Mariners and Tigers are relatively evenly matched. But I think the Mariners probably win that one. And the Dodgers, going to win. So maybe all 4 series end tomorrow. Obviously, I hope that the Cubs can win a couple in a row and drag that series out to 5 games. But either way, I like the Dodgers' chances in the next one, but they got to get there first. And Clean says, Jeff, I think your commentary has been great today. Appreciate it. Your chats have been awesome too. With that said, I think that's going to wrap it up for me. This was fun. We will be around tomorrow for a post-gamer. Hopefully it will be a celebratory post-gamer. It'll be a post-gamer, meaning Clint and Alana will be doing their post-game show on Dodgers territory. And then right after that, probably all 3 of us, me, Clint, and Kevin, here for the post game. So about a half hour after the game ends. Hopefully, again, it'll be celebratory. We will be celebrating the Dodgers moving on to the NLCS. One way or another, we'll have a lot to talk about, though. And, I'm hoping it'll be a happy conversation. One last super chat, Ray Soto, $4.99 for the solo act with a salute emoji and a pointing finger emoji. Right back at you, Ray Soto. Appreciate the $4.99 super chat. Thank you all for being here. This was fun. Thanks to the mods in the chat. Appreciate you. Thank you for the super chats. Thanks to the Bleav Network for having us part of the network. Thanks to FanDuel for being the sponsor. Thanks to all you. And we will be back tomorrow to talk about a Dodgers NLDS victory, I hope. That's going to do it. So, bye.